Hello, everyone. My name is Vieje Piauwasdy. I'm the Director of Equity Strategy here at Secfi. Really excited to be here. Thanks for your time and attending my session. It's really great to be here amongst other fellow startup builders. At Secfi, we are a VC-backed startup ourselves, so this is awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you all. So let's jump right into it here. Why are you here? How to properly exercise employee equity? Well, I have a hunch that a lot of you are probably here because you probably or have heard or you know that equity compensation is really important in the startup world. One way or another, you probably heard about it. You may have had a friend who went through an exit. You may have been through an exit yourself, or you just heard of your friend's cousins, friends, brother who painted the walls of Facebook and made a few $1 million. Something like that. Equity compensation is really important in the startup world. The problem with equity compensation, that stock options specifically as part of equity compensation, are insanely confusing. And what we've seen here at Secfi is a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table because of that. Unfortunately, as the title of this presentation alludes to, how to properly exercise your employee equity, there's no cheat code or stock answer. So why are we here? The goal of this presentation is to walk you as the future startup builders of the world. We want to walk you through just understanding your stock options, right? How do you get started in planning your equity? How do you make better decisions regarding your equity? And this all starts with knowing your options. And this pun intended, I apologize. I'm going to be hammering that home here over the next 10 or 15 minutes, but know your options. But before we jump right in, I wanted to give you guys a quick introduction to myself and Secfi, so you know a little more about us. Here at Secfi, in short, Secfi is a VC-backed startup where we help startup employees like yourself understand, maximize, unlock the value of their equity. Over the last 4 years, we've worked with over 80% of US-based unicorns at this point. And on our platform at secfi.com, we house over $10 billion in equity. So how do we help employees? Well, we provide, first and foremost, employee education. That's why we're here today. I'm going to help educate you all as part of our team mission to educate the entire startup community on stock options, how to better properly manage your equity, how to make better decisions regarding your equity. We provide online tools and tax planning calculators on our platform so you can plan around your equity and make the best decision for yourself. And vitally, we also provide financing to cover exercise costs. No matter how much you plan, a lot of you have probably been through this before, but no matter how much you plan, there could be a situation where you may not have the cash to exercise, or you don't want to put up that cash because it's a lot of risk on your personal balance sheet. At Secfi, we help cover the financing so you can exercise your options, and we try to put you in a win-win situation. But enough about Secfi, just to introduce you all to myself. I lead our equity strategy team here at Secfi, where we work with startup founders and employees on a daily basis. Over the last few years, I've spoken to hundreds and possibly even thousands of people just like yourself to help them make better decisions around it. All right, so what's our goal of today? In the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, I'm going to help you know your options, right? So again, apologize for the pun here, but this is the goal. And truthfully, stock options are insanely complicated. I could sit here and lecture you about AMT and ISOs, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get as much out of it as if I just gave you some high-level tidbits so you can start planning around your equity. By the end of this, I want you all to start making a plan for your equity if you have it, or know that you have to make a plan for your equity when you do get stock options. So how we're going to do this, I'm going to kick things off with a case study. And so we highlight the stock option problem. And to end the presentation, I'm going to wrap it up with some key takeaways. But I know the audience here probably comes from all different walks of life. Some of you may be at startups right now. Some of you may be joining a startup. Some of you may be founding a startup here shortly. So to level set, I want to kick things off through a fun way to learn. One of my favorite ways to learn, memes. So I'm going to walk through the startup stock option life cycle through a few memes. Great success. So this is really where it starts, right? You granted stock options one way or another. You work at a company or you joined a company as an early employee. You started a company. You're granted stock options. It's amazing. I've heard amazing things about stock options. I've heard my friend, my neighbor may have gotten wealthy from stock options, and here we are, great success. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, right? The excitement quickly dies down when you realize that this stuff is a lot more complicated than you expected. you're going to be granted this option grant agreement with a lot of scary legal language. You probably have no idea what it means. You're going to read through the contract. It's going to mention things like strike prices, vesting schedules, 409A valuations, expiration windows, ISOs, NSOs, AMT, WTF, what the heck is going on here, right? You're going to find out this stuff very complicated very quickly. Hopefully, and most people do this, but they'll do a little bit of research. They'll talk to some friends or people who have been through this before, and they'll also come to the conclusion that this stuff is really expensive as well, right? So just to exercise your options, it costs a lot. So you're going to do what most people do, and you're part of this group. Don't worry about it because it's what most people do, but you're going to put it on the back burner and try to figure it out later. And this is what I call the oh crap moment. You're going to realize your company's growing really fast. There's rumors of an IPO. Obviously, that's a great thing, but you have this stock option problem that you have to deal with. So memes are a great learning tool, but I want to walk through a real life case study with some numbers here to kind of level set so I can introduce the stock option problem. So I know Benoit, who's the founder of Snowflake, is also a speaker here. So I thought it'd be fun to analyze the Snowflake case study. Jake joined Snowflake in 2019 and was granted stock options at an $8.88 strike price. Great situation, right? For those of you that don't know, Snowflake, I believe, is trading above $250 as of today. So $8, just under $9 to $250 in a couple of years. Pretty good appreciation on their shares, right? Just to note, these are stock options, meaning you have to pay for them to exercise them, right? And that's problem number one, right? Exercising your stock options is prohibitively expensive. So in this situation, Jake joined in 2019 and 2020, right before the IPO. He's going to need close to $500,000 to exercise his options, right? So first off, that's the 133 on the right of that pie chart there. That's the strike price. You probably knew about that, right? We put together some stats on the bottom here, the surprise factor. So when we say surprise, it's that tax bill. Not a lot of people understand that there's taxes associated when you exercise your stock options. The second box on the bottom there, unaffordability factor, right? So that's very simply a ratio of how many times your yearly income it will take to exercise your stock options. Just to kind of give you a bite-sized look into what the problem is. Jake needs a lot of cash to exercise his stock options. So some of you are probably wondering, why would anyone want to exercise their stock options prior to an IPO, right? And really that answer is very simple, it's taxes. By exercising early, there's a potential huge tax savings from exercising. So in Jake's situation, if he had exercised in 2020 before the IPO, he would have netted $2.27 million. He'd be held onto it for a year before selling. If he had waited, it would have cost him $1.7 million. So it's a swing of roughly $500,000 of additional taxes because he decided not to exercise, 33%. So this is a stock option problem, right? Both outcomes are great. I would take $1.7 million any day for about a year of service, but this is a problem nonetheless. A lot of people are leaving money on the table from their stock options. So Snowflake is obviously one case study, but how does it look across the board, right? Well, we've done a lot of research in this field, and what we found out that many employees do not exercise their stock options. So we have Jake at Snowflake on the left there, but Jennifer and Jill at DoorDash and Airbnb respectively have the same problem. These are fast-growing startups, and a lot of people don't end up exercising their stock options, and in turn, they leave a lot of money on the table. Just how much money across the board, across the startup landscape? Well, we did a research study that we released last year at the end of 2020, and we found that employees left close to $5 billion by not exercising their pre-IPO stock options. So this is a problem across the board. This is the stock option problem, right? The faster your startup grows, the harder it is to exercise your stock options. But the faster your startup grows, at the same time, you want to exercise your stock options because likely you're going to have a great exit and potentially you can take home more. So this is the problem, a stock option that we are trying to solve here at Secfi. So what's the takeaway here? I think we only have a few minutes left. So I want to leave you with some actionable items that you can take home and start making a plan around your stock options. Number one, your equity can be worth a lot of money one day. Most people who get to an exit are absolutely shocked by just how big the exit is. So, to put another way, a lot of people are just shocked by the valuation of their company. And this is not just for employees. This happens across the board. I can tell you one story. A few years ago, I want to say 3 years ago to be exact, we were working with a C-suite executive at a newly minted unicorn company. And he told me, Vijay, this is great, but I do think the company's overvalued. This is someone in the C-suite, and he says, like, look, we've had a great run, but I want to make sure to hedge. We fast forward to late last year, that company is now worth 15 times the last valuation. So, don't feel bad. Valuations are tough, especially in this market. But just know that your equity can be worth a lot of money one day. Now, the not so good news, right? Not all companies are made and valued equally. The reality is most startups will fail. That's just the numbers game, right? I wouldn't want to say everyone's watching is going to have to work for a startup or start a company that's going to be a billion plus exit, but the reality is that does not happen. Valuations and exit potential differ greatly depending on the industry your company is in. So beware, there is risk involved. Startups inherently risky. Exercising stock options is a risk-reward investment decision. So this is really important. A lot of people don't really understand that it's purely an investment decision, right? The earlier you exercise your stock options, the higher return you'll typically get. The later you exercise it, the less risk, but at the same time, the less you'll take home. It's a risk-reward decision. You've got to factor in your personal financial situation and your risk tolerance, right? Everyone's situation is different, and you need to make sure that you make a decision that works for you and that you're happy with and you're comfortable with and you can sleep at night with. I wouldn't recommend putting 95% of your net worth into one asset, but if you're comfortable with it, that's your situation and you need to come to terms with it, right? So understand, risk-reward investment decision. Equity compensation is complicated. I stayed away from the nitty-gritty details for a reason here, but there are advisors and tools out there to help. This is going to be for a lot of you, this is going to be the vast majority of your net worth, right? Stock options could lead to be a vast majority of your personal balance sheet. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It's never too early to start asking advisors, talking to people, and seeking out help. It's never too early for that. Just know there are resources out there and you don't have to go at it alone. Make a plan and stay nimble. So this is one where, I'm going to encourage you to make a plan. If there's one thing that you get out of this is know your options and make a plan, right? But you need to stay nimble. Startups change all the time. As you grind through the growth phase of your startup, things will change. You may pivot. You're going to have to do funding rounds. Events like 498 valuations can change things. These all have huge impacts on your stock options. So ask someone at your company if these things are happening, right? Are you guys going through a fundraise? Is there a new 498 coming out? Talk to your CFO, talk to your VP of finance, talk to your equity plan admin, and ask them the hard questions so you can plan around that and make the best of your equity. And I know I see a 5, but I wanted to end on a really fun one here. Just another meme to kind of set the stage, but procrastinating the planning of your equity compensation, nope. Knowing your stock options, absolutely. So thank you all. Just to wrap things up here in the last 30 seconds, if you do want to use some tools, looking for additional resources in regards to your stock options and your equity, we have free tools to use at secfi.com. You can sign up for an account in about 5 minutes, plug in your details. We'll help you out, manage your equity, and calculate some things like your taxes, your profit at the end. And thank you all. This has been so fun. Appreciate your time here. Again, my name is Vieje. Feel free to tweet at me at VJP or email me at vj@secfi. Thank you, everyone. This has been great.